Good morning, scholars, and welcome back to Animals and Habitats, Day 5. So our learning goal of today is I can compare and contrast the temperate deciduous forest habitat with the Arctic, Sonoran, and East African savanna habitats. So I want to start today by taking a short tour through our pictures, and I want you to think about, what do you see in these pictures? How is it different from what you've already seen? What do you think we're looking at pictures of? What is our friend Rattenborough doing? What are you noticing? I hope you're discussing this with a parent or sibling, somebody that might be with you. Ooh, do those look tasty? I don't think he looks very tasty, but he's not very scary. I see a lot of these guys in my yard. Oh, is he beautiful? What do you see in this picture? What is this guy doing? What is that one doing? What do you see behind him? All right, let me go back to the very beginning here. And while I'm scrolling back through these, I'm wondering if you know what we're going to be learning about today. I'll bet you do. Yeah, we're learning about forests. You're right. So what is a forest, though? A forest is a large area with lots of trees. Have you ever been in a forest or seen a forest? Where did you see it? What kind of things could I find in the forest? Do you think all forests are the same? Or are there different kinds of forests? Well, what we're looking at right now is a map that shows different areas highlighted. See this area right here, and over here, and over here, and areas way down here, and way down here. What I notice when I'm looking at this map, that area of the Sonora Desert, it's not highlighted today. And up here, where it's the Arctic tundra, and the Arctic Ocean, it's not highlighted either. So what are you thinking about that? Yeah, there weren't many trees there, you're right. And if a forest has a lot of trees, do you think the Sonoran Desert would be a forest? No, it's not. You're right. It's a desert, right? Good job. All of these highlighted areas here on this map, these yellow areas, are areas that have temperate deciduous forests. And these kind of forests, they exist all around the world. That's why there's a little one down here and way over here. They're all over the world. You're going to hear about temperate deciduous forests today, about one temperate deciduous forest in the United States, one that's part of the states of Tennessee and North Carolina. Right here it is. This forest is also a national park called the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and is one of the most visited national parks in the United States. The mountains are named for the blue-gray mist that surrounds the mountain peaks. So they call them the Great Smoky Mountains because, can you see this mist back here? It's kind of a blue-gray mist, so that's why they call it that. So the forest you're going to learn about today is a temperate deciduous forest. Listen carefully to learn what a temperate deciduous forest is. There's our friend Rattenborough. Rattenborough here with the next thrilling chapter in our Habitat Read-Alouds. After looking at some very exotic, which means strange or fascinating, faraway places, I thought we could visit a habitat that is quite common in many parts of the United States. This is a forest habitat. You know you're in a forest habitat when everywhere you look, there are trees all around you. You may be wondering why I'm up in a tree. Well, I'm enjoying the wonderful view of the forest in North America. There are over 500,000 acres of forest in this national park. 1 acre is about as big as a football field. Many of you may have seen forests like this before, either in real life or in books. You may be familiar with some of the plants and animals that live here in the Smoky Mountains. A lot of them live in many other places all over the United States. So when we look at the map, the forest that we're looking at is kind of over here. There are many different kinds of forests in the world. The forests of the Smoky Mountains are called temperate forests. A temperate forest grows in an area that has 4 seasons, including a warm summer and a cold winter, and receives steady rainfall throughout the year. Even though these forests have a summer and a cold winter, temperate means it's not extremely hot or extremely cold like it is in other areas. This forest is also called a deciduous forest because it's full of deciduous plants, trees, bushes, and shrubs that lose their leaves every fall, then grow leaves again when the temperatures start to rise in the spring. The temperate deciduous forest has a much friendlier climate than other habitats we've learned about, and it can support many different kinds of plants and animal life. The climate of a habitat is what the weather is usually like over a long period of time. A temperate deciduous forest is made up of broadleaf trees like oak, maple, beech, and elm. Broadleaf trees have broad leaves or wide leaves. These trees grow very tall and are thickly covered with wide leaves that are better at collecting sunlight than trees like pine trees that have needles instead of leaves. Under these taller trees, there are saplings, young trees, as well as shrubs and bushes and plants that bear fruit. Closer to the ground, the shorter plants like grasses and wildflowers. So we're looking at this big tall tree. Underneath it are these little trees. And then down here you still have grasses and wildflowers too. There we go. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down so I can show you this wonderful habitat. The tree I'm standing on now is an oak tree. This oak tree is very tall and it's covered with leaves and acorns. An acorn is a seed, and if it gets planted in the forest soil, it can grow roots and shoots, which will eventually turn into oak sapling. Like the saguaro cactus in the desert and the acacia tree in the savanna, oak trees provide shelter and food for many animals. Owls, woodpeckers, mice, and foxes made their homes in the branches or around the roots of the oak tree, and the acorns are food for the squirrels, birds, deers, and other animals. Look at this tasty insect. Well, the oak tree is home for hundreds of different kinds of insects, like the stink bug and the weevil, which eat its leaves and acorns. Moths and butterfly lay their eggs in the tree. Other insects, like ants and timber beetles, live under the bank of the oak or in the dead and fallen trees. Just as insects are drawn to the oak as a source of food, so are the animals that feed on insects. Spiders and all kinds of birds hunt for tasty bugs among the branches of the oak tree. Bears and other animals find food there too. The oak tree is an amazing habitat in itself. Down on the forest floor, there are all kinds of shrubs, the fruits of which are food to many different species of animals, including rabbits, chipmunks, deer, and omnivores like bears. A species is a group of plants or animals that are similar or alike. The animal you just heard listed are all different species. Some of these berries are perfectly ripe, and they taste delicious. What a tasty treat. Down here on the ground, I can see wildflowers, grasses, and clover. These plants, which cover the forest floor, are home to many types of insects and are food to grazing animals such as deer and mice. One interesting thing about the plants in a forest is that often they grow leaning in the same direction. Isn't that strange? Why do you think plants might be leaning in one direction? Well, they have to do that because they are looking for sunlight. The leaves of the big trees get all the sun. Only a small amount of sunlight gets through to the forest floor. That's why it's so shady in here. The plants down here have to grow toward the sun so they can get enough light to make the food they need to survive. You may have seen this fuzzy green stuff growing on rocks, trees, and the ground in the forest on the countryside. Mosses are small green plants which grow in clumps in damp and shady places. They cover parts of the forest floor like a carpet and are home to many small animals and insects. It feels really soft to walk on, thick and spongy, and it tickles a bit. Now we're going to take a look at some of the animals that live here. Great Smoky Mountain National Park is home to almost 400 different kinds of animals. Animals that live in the temperate deciduous forest are adapted to living in a habitat with 4 seasons. Can you name the 4 seasons? Can you tell me what the weather is like in each one? Let's start with summer. Right, summer is warm. I'll bet you said, then what comes after summer? All right, fall or autumn. The weather's starting to get a little bit chilly, and the leaves are falling off the trees. What is winter like? Right, all the leaves have fallen off, and it is cold, and sometimes there's snow, right? Eee. And then what is spring like? Right, it's starting to get a little bit warmer, and the snow's melted. And spring is when you can start seeing those blossoms on the trees. I really love spring. Let's start with the mighty oak tree again. This amazing tree is home to many animals, and I'm standing at the nest of one of them, the gray squirrel. This little animal is covered in warm gray-brown fur with a white chest and long bushy tail. Squirrels live in holes in the trunks of the tree or in nests high up in the tree like this one. Their nests are built from twigs, leaves, moss, and grass. Squirrels use their strong back legs and sharp claws to help them leap from tree to tree and to run up and down the tree trunks. And they use their tails to help them balance. Squirrels are omnivores. What's an omnivore again? Right, he eats both plants and animals. Squirrels are omnivores and spend most of their time looking for food. The squirrel eats mostly acorns from the oak tree, but it also eats nuts, mushrooms, berries, seeds, and even birds, eggs, and insects. This squirrel might nibble on an acorn or two now, but it will also bury and store, or save, many acorns underground so it can have them in the winter when other food is hard to find. A barred owl lives in a hole in this oak tree. I have to be careful because owls are carnivores. What are carnivores again? Yeah, animals that eat other animals. Unlike the owl in the desert, this owl happens to enjoy eating rats. This owl also eats other small animals like mice, insects, and even other birds. Owls have very good hearing and excellent eyesight, which allows them to find their prey easily in the thick forest. Owls are nocturnal, which means they only come out at night, so I have some time before this one is ready for a late night snack. Hold on, what's that scratching sound coming from below? It's a black bear. Black bears are common in North America temperate deciduous forests, and there are more than 1,000 in this national park. They are large animals. They weigh as much as 14 first graders would weigh all together. And when they stand on their hind legs, they can be taller than a person. Bears are omnivores and hibernate or sleep during the winter in hollowed-out trees or caves. When they are hibernating, bears use less energy and do not need to eat any food for many, many days. This is a good thing, because during the winter, the foods that bears eat are scarce and hard to find. Bears are covered in thick black or brown fur. They have very sharp claws to strip the bark off the trees, to uncover the insects that live there. The word bark in this sentence means the outer covering of a tree. The word bark can also refer to the sound a dog makes. This bear will use its long, sticky tongue to get into every crack to hunt out insects, and they'll make a delicious meal for him, I'm sure. I just saw a deer through the trees. Deer often live in the temperate deciduous forest because it's such a good place to stay hidden. But they often hunt for food in neighboring meadows. This is a buck. A buck is a male deer, and we can tell because male deers have antlers. Did you know that a buck's antlers fall off every year and will grow back again? Bucks mark their territory by stripping the bark off the trees with their antlers. A territory is an area an animal or a group of animals lives. Animals often protect their territory and try to keep other animals out. Bucks also use their antlers for fighting with other male deer. This deer is a white-tailed deer. Its coat is tan right now, but in the winter it will change to gray-brown, and it has patches of white on its underside. This helps the deer to be camouflaged or hidden in the environment. How do you think the change in color from tan to gray-brown with patches of white in the winter help to camouflage the deer? Deer graze on grasses and eat tree leaves, berries, and acorns, among other things. They mostly come out to feed at night when the light is low, and they rest during the day. This white-tailed deer has long legs, which are good for running and jumping and for escaping from predators like wolves and coyotes and even people. The temperate deciduous forest climate can support many different plants and animals because it has 4 seasons. It is called temperate because it never gets too cold, like the Arctic, or too hot, like the Sonoran Desert. There is a steady rate of rainfall throughout the year, so plants can grow and animals can have food and water to keep them alive. This is just one of the many kinds of forests in the world. Next, we're going to take a look at another kind. It's going to be very different in a lot of ways. I'll see you on our next adventure. So, are all forests the same, or are there different kinds of forests? I bet you said there were different kinds of forests. Can you describe the deciduous forest habitat? Yeah, it has cold and warm season. I'll bet you said winter and summer, right? I wonder if you said it gets a steady amount of rainfall throughout the year too, but not too much and not too little. Right? Yes, the plants do lose their leaves in the fall and grow again in the spring. So, what kind of plants might you see in a temperate deciduous forest? Yes, bushes, shrubs, mosses, grasses, yep, broadleaf trees. Good deal. I want to look at this right here. What animal is this? All right, a gray squirrel. Not just a squirrel, but he's a gray squirrel. Where does the gray squirrel find its shelter in temperate deciduous forests? Right, either in holes in the trees or in nests. What food does the gray squirrel eat in a temperate deciduous forest? Yes, he eats acorns and small plants and insects. Is the gray squirrel a carnivore, herbivore, or omnivore? He is an omnivore. Good job. What kind of animal is this? Yes, it is a barred owl. Where does the barred owl find shelter in the temperate deciduous forest? Yes, usually in the I'm sorry. Usually in a hole in the oak tree. Good job. What food does the barred owl in a temperate deciduous forest eat? Right, it eats small animals like Rattenborough, our friend. Is the barred owl a carnivore, herbivore, or an omnivore? He is a carnivore because he eats other animals, right? The read aloud said that the barred owl is nocturnal. What does that mean again? Yes, it sleeps during the day and it's active at night looking for food and making his house. Yep, good job. Here's our other friend. What kind of animal is this? Yes, he is a black bear. Where does the black bear find his shelter in the temperate deciduous forest? Right, in hollowed out trees or caves. Good. In a temperate deciduous forest, what food does this black bear like to eat? He does eat plants and small animals. Good job. Is the black bear a carnivore, herbivore, or omnivore? That's right. He's an omnivore because he eats both plants and animals. Pat yourself on the back for that one. During the winter, the black bear hibernates. I forgot. What does that mean? If you said he sleeps during the winter, give yourself a, oh yeah. What kind of animal is this? Right, he's a deer. We also call him a buck because he's a male. Good job. What food does the deer in the temperate deciduous forest eat? He eats plants. Good job. Is the deer a carnivore, an herbivore, or an omnivore? Right, he's an herbivore because he eats the plants. What adaptations does this deer have in order to live in the temperate deciduous forest? Yes, this deer has antlers and very strong legs, and the color of its fur changes in the winter to camouflage it. How are the gray squirrel, barred owl, black bear, and deer all alike? Yes, they all live in temperate deciduous forests. They all need food and water and shelter. How are they different? Right. Right. Some of them are carnivores. Some of them are herbivores. Some of them are omnivores. They do have different adaptations. Good job. Let's see. In this read aloud, you heard this squirrel might nibble on an acorn or two every now and then. Here he is. I'm going to go find him. But it will also bury and store many acorns underground. So it will have them in the winter when other food is hard to find. Say the word store with me. Store. Good. Store means to save and put away for the future use. When warm weather arrives, I store my winter hat and gloves in a box in the closet. What are some things? Do you sometimes store food? Do you store other things? Go ahead and tell somebody about what you store and then come back. Did you tell somebody about the things you store? What's the word we've been talking about? Yes, store. I'm going to name a place. I want you to think about what you might store in that place. So, for example, if I say kitchen cabinet, you might think, I store peanut butter in the kitchen cabinet. The refrigerator. Oh boy, you could say, I store hot dogs in the refrigerator. Or you might say, I store milk in the refrigerator. But remember, you can't just say hot dog or milk. You need to use a complete sentence when you answer it. So what do you store in your pocket? I don't know, some of you store cars in your pocket, or you might store candy in your pocket. Good. I hope you said, I store your item in my pocket. What do you store in your backpack? Yes, you could store your book in your backpack. Or maybe you said, I store my pencil in my backpack. Or maybe you said, I store my homework in my backpack. Good deal. I'm going to scroll down here. In this read aloud, you heard bears are covered in thick black or brown fur, and they have sharp claws to strip the bark off trees to uncover the insects that live there. So you're going to hold up either a 1 if you think I'm talking about this picture. I'll hold up 2 fingers if you think I'm talking about this picture. Bark can also mean something else. Bark refers to the sound dogs make. Did you hold up 2 fingers and show this picture? Good job. I want you to talk about what you think of when you see this kind of bark. Go tell your mom or dad or whoever's with you about this kind of bark. Now tell them about what you think of when you see this kind of bark. Make sure you're using complete sentences when you're talking about it. All right. Thank you for joining me for Animals and Habitats, lesson number 5, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.